doesn't want to sit at the table with colleagues on either side of the aisle to come to consensus about how to spend taxpayer dollars, or better stated, how to borrow money we don't have, as if that's actually true. What table is the gentleman referring to? What table does he want us to come sit down and negotiate? It's not this table. I don't have the power to offer an amendment on the floor of the House of Representatives, despite being elected by 750,000 Texans. I don't have the ability or the right to be able to stand up for them and have a debate on the floor of this chamber. Everything the American people is watching right now is a complete sham. It's a fraud being perpetrated on the American people right before their eyes.
So today we're going to listen to and react to Republican House member Chip Roy going off on the insane $1.7 billion spending bill that was passed through Congress.
When in fact, what you see here is a 4,100-page bill cooked up by a handful of people behind closed doors, brought before the Rules Committee with no ability to offer an amendment, no ability to debate, no actual discussion on the People's House floor.
Should be a great show. The live starts now. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining. So last time I was complaining a little bit about the $1.7 trillion insane omnibus bill. We'll talk about it in a little bit. And a lot of people in the comment sections were mentioning I like Chip Roy. So I looked into him. He's a House member from Texas. Although he doesn't have enough power to stop it or anything, I believe it passed, and it's insane. We'll talk about some of the stuff in there. I do want to watch this 5-minute clip and react to it. I've only heard half of it, and the first half was good enough that I knew I wanted to share the whole thing. So I'm going to react to mostly new this clip of Chip Roy basically being a voice of the people among a bunch of liars in Washington and talking about how ridiculous this bill was. Let's watch.
5 minutes.
Thank the Speaker. I thank the gentleman from Pennsylvania. And I can't help but be amused that the gentleman from Massachusetts says that we refuse to come to the table, as if the gentlelady who will soon be the chairwoman of Appropriations, Ms. Granger, my colleague from Texas, doesn't want to sit at the table with colleagues on either side of the aisle to come to consensus about how to spend taxpayer dollars, or better stated, how to borrow money we don't have, as if that's actually true. What table is the gentleman referring to? What table does he want us to come sit down and negotiate? It's not this table. I don't have the power to offer an amendment on the floor of the House of Representatives, despite being elected by 750,000 Texans. I don't have the ability or the right to be able to stand up for them and have a debate on the floor of this chamber. Everything the American people is watching right now is a complete sham. It's a fraud being perpetrated on the American people right before their eyes, right as we head into Christmas, sitting here on the 23rd of December, when 6 years ago, those boys crossed the Delaware. We were dealing with Valley Forge, or the boys in 1944 sitting in foxholes in Bastogne over Christmas. And we had 18 Republicans who joined with Democrats in the Senate get on their fancy planes and go home, and we're sitting here trying to do the work of the people. Not spend money we don't have, not drive up more inflation, not have 7,500 earmarks for $16 billion for pet leftist projects across this country. What you see here on the floor of the House of Representatives should make everybody ashamed. The People's House. Not one amendment has been offered on the floor of this body since May of 2016 in open debate. The gentleman from Massachusetts dares to impugn the character of the Appropriations Chairwoman Kay Granger and those Republicans he says won't sit at the table, when in fact what you see here is a 4,100-page bill cooked up by a handful of people behind closed doors, brought before the Rules Committee with no ability to offer an amendment, no ability to debate, no actual discussion on the People's House floor. And my colleagues on the other side of the aisle know it. And we're spending money we don't have. Go home and sell your projects. Go home and talk about all the pork you're bringing home. But you're destroying the United States of America. Absolutely destroying this body. The American people did not send us here to do that. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle know that. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle know full well that this body is broken, but do not care. $45 billion to Ukraine. Have we had a full debate on Ukraine? Or did we take $45 billion of funding for Ukraine, package it on a $1.7 trillion bill, invite the president of Ukraine to address this body for theatrics heading out for Christmas in order to jam through a big spending Democrat priority bill that the American people resoundingly rejected in November? For 70 years, this body, when we've had a transfer of power in the Senate, we have not done this in a lame duck. Yet that's what my Democrat colleagues are doing. There are consequences to this. You can't go out and talk about inflation and talk about what the American people are feeling right now when they're trying to fill up their tanks with gas. They're trying to have presents for their families. They're trying to pay their bills. And then come here and dump hundreds of billions of dollars into the economy while the Fed's raising interest rates and people can't afford to buy homes and they can't live, and say you're doing the people's work. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle, night before last, were apoplectic that Mike Lee was daring to challenge the idea that we should have a bill that literally prohibits Border Patrol from securing the border. He wanted to try to fix that, try to extend Title 42. My Democrat colleagues rejected it, and I sat here on the floor, and they were more concerned about catching their flights for Christmas, coming to me and saying, we can't be here over Christmas. Well, why the hell not? The American people deserve us to be here over Christmas, actually fighting for them, instead of trying to catch planes while half this body are going to vote by proxy. Half this body's not even going to be here. And they're lying. They're lying on forms saying that they're voting by proxy for COVID. And it's a lie. And half this body's going to do it. You know it. And it's destroying this country. I'm not going to just sit here and roll over on this. This is going to continue. The American people are going to know precisely what's happening to them by the people's house. I yield back.
One of the things that Thomas Massie brought up, he was one of the only people in House, Thomas Massie, representative from Kentucky, good guy, libertarian, patriot, real one. The thing that he brought up when they signed the CARES Act in March of 2020 is he said, this is the biggest spending bill in modern history. There's never been anything like this. It's going to be the biggest exchange of wealth transfer ever, and it's insane. But the thing that Thomas Massie brought up that he got harangued for, Trump called him a third-rate Republican, tried to kick him out of the party, like both parties were getting mad at him. But the one thing that he brought up is what Chip Roy just kind of brought up there with the COVID rules, is when it's already a slap in the face when they do an omnibus bill. It's already a slap in the face when they do a CARES Act and we're locked in our house and they're just printing trillions of dollars. Obviously, that was going to lead to inflation. I don't care what they say, Democrats, Republicans, Trump, Biden. What they did in 2020, you can't just print trillions of dollars in the middle. Oh, COVID, let's just print money and lock everything down. It's going to happen, whether it's in 3 months, 3 years, 2 years. This was always coming one way or another, but they just keep making it worse. But anyway, without getting off topic, what Thomas Massie says is it's crazy enough that they're doing all this. But what's even crazier is because of COVID, they all did it in secret. They were all like, oh, there's a virus, so we got to just pass the biggest spending bill ever, but we got to do it, and we're not even going to be at work. So everybody, like, what? So you're doing the craziest thing ever done in modern history, but you're not even going to show your face when you do it. And I think they were trying to hide whether they voted yes or no on it. So now it seems like they're passing this crazy omnibus bill through, right? We're at $1.7 trillion. If you don't read it, have a good Christmas. Unless you're Jewish, have a good Hanukkah, or hope you had a good Hanukkah. If you're Muslim, I'm not trying to be ignorant. I forget the name of the Christmas or the time holiday or the winter holiday. But regardless, enjoy winter season, because if you read this bill, it's like gender equality in Pakistan, like studying this, that, like, it's like, what? But it's just crazier that they're not even there. Like, oh, we're going to do this. All right, we don't want to have a discussion about it. We don't want to have a debate about it. Amendments, like, we're going to go home to our families, and, it is what it is. We have enough power to pass it. Now, the question is, I don't know much about this Chip Roy guy, his other policies. I don't know if he's the real deal or not, but I like the passion in this rant there and what he was saying, and the fact that he opposed it. Mitch McConnell took like a little picture with Zelensky today. And I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of Mitch McConnell, but he obviously he looks like a turtle. But like his mouth goes like, I'm trying to do the Mitch McConnell thing. I can't do it because my face doesn't like squiggle like that. He's got one of those squiggly mouths. No disrespect. And that was good. That's what it looked like. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why does it always look like Mitch McConnell has a stick so far up his butthole that he can't keep his mouth closed? Like that's what like a normal face is like this, or like my smile. I'm not saying his smile is my smile, you know what I'm saying? But like with him, it just like, this is Mitch McConnell resting face, but this is Mitch McConnell when you stick a stick up his ass. Like it's like his a stick is so far up there, or maybe there's a foreign country up there jamming something in his bum that he just can't keep his mouth closed. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it must be far deep up there for him to not be able to keep his mouth closed like that. I don't know what's wrong, but that's our leader. That's our Senate leader. So somebody get that guy some help. Maybe we could pass a COVID bill to get him some better health insurance or something, figure out what's going on with the stick up there. But in general, I saw that the Associated Press or Reuters, one of those like mainstream breaking news things, they put out a report that said that studies have shown, or the report has come in that an investigation has found, however they broke it. They said that they found out that the surveillance state has been expanded through COVID, and that the government's been using it for things not related to COVID. And of course, AP only cared because they were going after minorities, which I don't care if you're black or white or whoever you are. I don't want the government to go after you using something that they said they weren't. But in general, the AP said, well, they're going after these people in minority communities. And it's like, who could have ever predicted that COVID was going to expand the surveillance state? And just like, when Elon Musk has been showing the Twitter files or people he's been reporting with, thank goodness, to prove what we all knew, that they're like, oh, Russia collusion. Now that there's Russia collusion, now we're going to spy. Now we're going to cheat. Now we're going to rig. It's like we've seen this coming. It's so obvious, but they're admitting publicly now that the surveillance state has been increased since COVID, and they're using it for things that don't have to do with COVID. Duh. Another thing I saw was that there's like a multi-billion, maybe like an 80, $90 billion problem with theft now for physical stores. And I'm going to drop, something by. Some would call it a conspiracy theories. Others would call it an honest hypothesis. But during COVID, they locked businesses down, right? They're destroying physical businesses. But Amazon, Walmart, and a lot of the internet companies crushing. They're just killing off small business. Oh, we did it by mistake. We just happened to destroy your business, but not Amazon. Oh yeah, what a convenient mistake, just suckling money into the digital, elites and away from mom and pop shops and physical businesses, right? And then you have all these Democrat cities that are allowing theft and crime. It's becoming so normal, and then it's bloating out into even Republican areas, and it's bloating out, and there's just so many smash and grabs and thefts. There's a bigger theft problem than there's been in a while. I think it said that physical stores are suffering up to like $90 billion worth of losses because of theft. What if, and I'm not saying it's true, but what if, because I don't know, what if they're purposely doing this? What if they're purposely allowing theft? I mean, because why else would you allow theft? Like if you go to Saudi Arabia or Qatar or any like halfway deep, I'm sure Russia's a little tougher, like any country that has somewhat of like balls, for lack of a better word, like why would you allow theft? Even most Republican areas, like Democrats are making it easier to steal, easier to rob, easier to smash and grab. And then they're smashing and grabbing in an Apple store. In a sane society, you have a security guard or a man or somebody and be like, yeah, let's stop those criminals. That's my store. But in Apple, it's almost like they're allowing it. They're like, everybody just stand there and let the criminals steal all the stuff. So you had COVID lockdowns destroying physical businesses. Now you have smash and grabs at all-time high, and they're losing. What if they were trying to destroy physical businesses so there were no physical businesses? Everything was digital. It's already going towards digital. I make my money off digital. My sales are digital. I'm not complaining. I live in the physical world, but I benefited off the internet. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't. So have millions of people. It's easy. It's convenient. But I'm all for the natural progression, right? Let's let it, and this is what they never do with anything. And even there's some things in history that you learned were so great. Same thing. They didn't let natural, I'm not going to get into specifics, but they didn't let natural progression take its course. They forced it, cheated everybody, and robbed everybody. But in general, I'm all for, yeah, people are going to use Amazon more and more and more. But then the lockdowns happen. That's not natural. That's not free market capitalism. That's not, Macy's going out because of this. You're destroying them. And with the theft thing, it's like, who wants to run a business in a major city? I mean, God bless you if you have a store in a major city. I wouldn't want it. I used to work at a store. I mean, I worked in Hollywood on the Boulevard. I've done store jobs. I mean, I've done pretty much everything. I've had like 20 jobs. I would do whatever I could for money, but nowadays, like, who would want a store in a big city where the criminal politicians are like, yeah, just let them steal the stuff? I feel like they're purposely doing it. And with this omnibus bill, you really have to ask yourself, like, first of all, I'm not a financial genius, but how does all this stuff work? I understand interest rates, you rise. It's like a push and a pull with the stock market. I understand it's complex, but here's something that's not complex. In 2020, they just imploded our economy. They cut supply chains, printed too much money, and just kept doing it, kept doing it. Biden got in, kept doing it, kept doing it. Omnibus bill kept doing it. And it's like, at what point do they stop doing this? I don't even understand how it's possible. But at the same time, I do understand how it's possible because it's not like our stock market's doing well. Our stock market's not doing well. Our stock market is like in borderline recession and it's not going up. Inflation's at an all-time high. They're not even talking about it. Prices are like quadrupling and nobody's getting paid more. This year, I'm pretty sure most people got paid less. They're around the same. I can't speak for everybody who got a raise, but so I mean, the proof is in the pudding. If they were printing all this money and like things were just crushing, it's like, yeah, I mean, that sucks, but whatever. But that's not the case. It's not the case. Inflation's at the craziest moment of my life. The stock market's at the crappiest moment I've ever seen it. And they just keep printing the money. And the big sham before I leave, and here's, we've been talking about solutions, but in 2023, this is my challenge to conservatives, right? It's time to start booing these people. It's time to start making these people uncomfortable. And I'm not talking about like Maxine Waters, like stalk them at restaurants and something. Leave these people alone in public. But if they do a speaking tour or, to me, that's an effective way. And I'm going to look into it myself. I'm going to practice what I preach. I want to go to a Ted Cruz event and ask him a question about why he supported vaccination segregation last year. Because I think Ted Cruz is an idiot. I want to ask Tom Cotton. I have some questions for people like Mitch McConnell. And I have some questions for people like, the TPUSAs and the Daily Wires of the world. Although they do some good work, I do wonder why there's certain things they don't do. I'm done being nice, and I'm not going to like bother these people in their personal lives or anything. I'm not that type of person. I treat people the way I want to be treated. But if you do a public event with a question and answer and you're a public servant of some sort, I'm pushing policy, we the people need to not act psychotic like the left wingers, knocking down things in Portland, but respectfully show up and ask these people questions because I think the right wing people that are like, oh, we're fighting the rhinos, like clearly it's not working. So I'm not blaming you. This is not me just saying, oh, I have no solution. I'm just saying it's not working. The 4 years of Trump, sorry, didn't work. Whatever's going on here, it's not working. Things are not going in the right direction. So let's not blame each other, but let's just stop pretending like, oh, we're right around the corner. No, we're not. Trump has a secret plan. No, he doesn't, right? Let's stop pretending like there's a secret person that's going to pop up like this new religion. It's like, yeah, forget about Jesus. It's going to be this guy who's going to save the country. Like, it's not happening. That person doesn't exist right now, okay? It's like this new fake political religion to worship Republicans. Stop. That needs to stop. And I'm not being mean to Turning Point because I think Turning Point does do some good work. I think, Drew Hernandez is a good journalist. They hired Savannah, Kaylin, they're doing a lot of stuff. They run good events. There's a lot of great people there. I'm not pushing at Turning Point for any reason besides I'm tired of these like events where these losers get on stage and everybody just roars and applauds for these people. Like it's like they're digging our grave and we're cheering them on because it's like our Coachella. I'm not saying to not have the Turning Point events. I think they're fun. I think they're great networking opportunities. There's a lot of nice people there and interviews. but I want 99% of these people to be booed. I want like Trump to be booed. I want Ted Cruz to be booed. I want Rick Scott to be booed. Tom Cotton obviously needs to be booed. All these people need to be booed until they learn that they're sellouts. Like I don't know why people just keep cheering on, like, yay, politicians, woo! Like, ew, boo. You know what I'm saying? Like, Trump needs to be asked questions. Ted Cruz needs to be asked questions. DeSantis, same thing, questions. I don't like this game of cheering these people on because it's not working. So that's what I'm gonna, I think that's one effective thing that people have done. I know Chris, I forget his name, he went to a Brian Stelter thing and asked a great question, and it was a viral moment that was important. Despite the fact that Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk and all these people call Nick Fuentes and like he's this terrible, all his supporters are so evil and they're too far right. I mean, say what you want. I'm not representative of them, but I will say in 2019, they started going to Ben Shapiro and Turning Point style events and asking questions about foreign aid and, the LGBTQ agenda and race. And, Charlie and TPUSA had a meltdown and they were crying that they were racist. Like, it's like the right wing people don't like to be questioned by right wingers. They just like to fight with the left and sell out our country. And I'm not saying Charlie's doing it. I think he's got a good heart somewhere, in there. But in general, it's like we need to be challenged by ourselves. Like, everybody wants to just keep what they have and just point to the left. And we're not almost there. Our party's not going anywhere. Trump's not going to do it. Maybe Rand Paul or DeSantis will do something, but I'm not going to wait around for 4 years thinking they might. They probably won't. So it's time to start challenging ourselves. And I want to give 2 recent examples to show how using your influence to challenge your side actually provides results, unlike what a lot of people are doing. And unfortunately, for some who are going to be bothered by this, the people I'm going to use in this example are Fuentes and Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West. He wants to be known as Ye now. So Ye, they have done more to right the wrongs of the Republican Party than Daily Wire or Turning Point has done in 6 years. And I'll tell you the 2 examples. So today or yesterday, Jared Kushner, there's a report. Obviously, it's not 100% confirmed if it doesn't come from Jared's mouth, but there's a report that Jared Kushner is off the Trump train. And the reason Jared Kushner is off the Trump train is because Jared Kushner is really upset that Donald Trump had a meeting with Nick Fuentes and Ye or Kanye West. That's great. That's awesome. So all it took was a meeting with Nick and Ye, and all of a sudden Jared Kushner is going to leave us alone. Awesome. Everybody knows that he's not the best influence in the party anyway. I don't think he's like a horrible guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy to talk to or whatever. But, just by being around, all of a sudden Jared Kushner's gone. So Ye and Nick Fuentes did more in 2 weeks than Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro have done in 6 years. And that's why I despise Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro, is because they've been trying to blacklist people like Nick and others for 4 years. They want to maintain this illusion they're doing something, but they're not. Too bad, folks. It's the year of the chessboard being thrown up. Get out of the way, you losers. So Nick and Ye had more of an impact on getting Kushner out than Ben or Charlie could do in 6 years just by showing up to a meeting with Trump. Great. That's awesome. I'm glad Jared's going to leave Trump alone and he's not interested. Great. Good. The other thing was Ye asked Trump about the January 6ers. In Trump's base, a lot of people are wondering why Trump doesn't say that much. I'm not saying it's his fault that everybody went to the Capitol, but something that Mike Cernovich brings up, and I think it's important, Trump raised, I think, like $160 million or something. I don't know the exact amount, but over $100 million to go after the election. He was raising money from November to January 6th. And then a bunch of his supporters get in trouble. Some people did some stupid stuff. Honestly, some people didn't do that much, and they're getting blamed for stuff they didn't even do. And where is Donald Trump? He raised over $150 million. Like, why? I'm not saying he needs to say it's his fault that everybody got in trouble, but if these are your people and they're showing up to support you, I understand that he's not to blame, and I don't think Trump should go to jail. But if he raised $150 million on the backs of his supporters, and then they're thrown in prison without a court case, and they don't even have a court case yet, like, at least let them go to court before they go to jail. How come Trump hasn't said anything about it? And has he even spent a single dollar to help these people? I don't think he has. And the only reason he even came out recently to pretend to care about his own supporters is because Ye went on his Twitter before he got banned by Elon Musk, my friend that's not my friend, but in general, Ye was like, why hasn't Trump done something about the January 6ers that are rotting in prison? And then Trump comes out and says something about them a week later. So that's just two things that Ye and Fuentes have done that nobody else is like. They've had more success in pushing Trump and the GOP in the right direction than anybody else has. Why? Because they actually do it. Everybody else that just licks the boots of these, like, yay, Ted Cruz, yay, Rick Scott, yay, Donald Trump, yay, it's a party, it's high school. Like, these people are not helping us. We need to move our own Overton window. These people don't serve us. They're not going in the right direction. And they need a metaphorical push in the right direction by we, the people. We can have an impact in 2023, but we have to stop going to these events and cheering hysterically. I'm not saying you can't clap and network, but we need to start holding our own accountable and actually kind of challenge our own side. Trump needs to be challenged. The GOP needs to be challenged. Shapiro needs to be challenged. Charlie Kirk needs to be challenged. And these people need to stop. Like, and Shapiro cries anti-Semitism when he's challenged. Trump doesn't want to be challenged. Charlie cried when Nick Fuentes' friends came and asked him questions and said, they're too far right. And he ran away from questions. Like, they did this in 2019 already. I already saw it. And I know they do a lot of good work. And I appreciate what they are doing. But that's where I'm at in 2023. I'm not playing the victim. I'm not providing no solutions. That's my solution, as nice as I possibly can say, is, why has Fuentes and Ye made Republicans move in the right direction in 3 weeks more than most right-wing organizations have? And to be fair to somebody that I think deserves another shout out this year would be Daily Wire employee Matt Walsh. I'm not saying Matt Walsh, I agree with him on everything. We disagree on a few things, actually. But Matt Walsh did a great job with his documentary, What is a Woman? Because he made a funny documentary that kind of exposed what was going on. And he didn't just sit around and talk about it. And, he figured out an intriguing way to gain million. Like, I know Democrats who vote Democrat who like that documentary. He found a way to enter the culture, push a narrative, use something that would be considered extreme, but do it in a comical way to the point where even moderates and Democrats are like, yo, I'm not right wing, but that What is a Woman's pretty funny. Like, why can't they even describe what a woman is? And, so I think, was it funny? I mean, unironically, because it's just like, I mean, obviously parts of it were sad and depressing for some, but I'm just saying, like, some of the back and forth with the professors, I thought it was hilarious. Like, just seeing them expose themselves by just not being able to answer. And then you look with the Q bar shooter or whatever, the guy who shot people at that gay bar identified as non-binary. And then there's transgendered people on the news on like CNN saying, oh, they don't look like a non-binary. What does it mean to look like a non-binary? So if you ask somebody in that left-wing community, what is a woman? They won't even be able to tell you what a woman is because they can't say that there is anything that means what a woman is or what it means to be this or that, or you can decide what gender you are. It doesn't matter what you look like or what you act like. And then when someone comes along and says they're non-binary, if they're not playing into the narrative, then you have these same people come on TV and say, oh, they don't look like a non-binary. What does a non-binary look like? The whole point of being non-binary is not like looking like whatever you want because you don't even care what gender you are. You just flip-flop between the two. But now there's a look to it. I mean, they expose themselves every time they get challenged. So I think what Matt Walsh did in his doc was just challenge them. So I think he deserves like a thumbs up. But besides them, and like I said, Ye and Fuentes, I don't see anybody really moving the Overton window. And I'm not praising everything that Nick and Ye does. Like, I'm them, they're them. I'm not going to take, blame for everything that they've ever said or done because I'm not like, I'll take accountability for what I do. But as far as getting results, like because they're actually trying. They're not playing it safe. They're not just like dunking on the left. They're challenging Kushner, Trump, and getting results. We have to do that because the most damaging, in my view, although it's inspired a lot of people, one of the most damaging ideologies in our party is the fact that millions of people got brainwashed by a message board into thinking that there's a secret plan that they just have to, like, now the Republican Party is not the party of George Bush and the Patriot Act and the Iraq War and the COVID lockdowns and Operation Warp Speed and the Omnibus bills. Now it's this special secret party that Donald Trump's going to take over, and he's got a magical plan that we just have to support him and act like he's Marvel hero. Like, that's the opposite of what needs to happen. I'm sorry, you could like him and vote for him, but we need to be challenged. And people have their criticisms of the gripers. I'm not, that's not my community. I'm not making excuses for everything they've ever said or done. If you have, your opinion or evident, whatever, I'm just saying ideologically, when they challenge Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro, they're ideologically moving the Overton window and bringing an internal discussion in the right wing. And I don't want to be repetitive, although I feel like I am every day, just to cover all my, like, to make my arguments secure. But in general, guys, it's not just them that are being blacklisted from these events. Anybody that knows who the donors of the Republican Party is, anybody who knows the speech laws that they're passing, everybody who knows the shortcomings and who really controls them, they get blacklisted from events. They tried to basically kick me out of a Turning Point event before I got there because I said that they should boo Ted Cruz and that they support speech laws for Israel against the American Constitution, which is true. Everything I said was true, but they're like, well, they'll let in Reuters. And I was talking to the Reuters guy. He was a photographer, nice guy. But in general, it's like I was talking to him outside and I'm like, they're giving me a harder time than mainstream media. Like, that's who the right wing is. The Kirks, the Shapiros, the Pragers, like, they're all fine with doing nothing, but they don't want to be challenged. But we need to be challenged. Prager needs to be challenged. Shapiro needs to be challenged. Kirk needs to be challenged. TPUSA needs to be challenged. Trump needs to be challenged. The GOP needs to be challenged. And even our favorite, they're not doing anything. They had 4 years. They did nothing. The Senate is a flop. There's a few good House members, and the whole narrative, and this is my other thing before I leave, is we need to create our own narratives. I understand that in 2016, this is my personal opinion, I think that in 2016, 2017, 2018, Donald Trump had a really strong narrative. I think he had a strong narrative. His message resonated with people. He started acting on the stuff, and it seemed like he had a clear 4-year goal to end up in a better place than he was and we were, but we didn't. And I understand COVID and Operation Warp Speed that Trump ended up being a part of or whatever. I understand that that was a fork in the road, but since that moment, he's not been the same guy. He used to be on the cusp of every issue. Now he's 20 steps behind, and his narrative, he's got people running in circles around him. It doesn't make sense to me. There's obviously some overlap. I agree with some people, but it seems like Trump is the ringleader of his own circus, saying the same 5 things on loop, leaving out like 80% of what's important. And a lot of these influencers, they just want to be little Trump. So they just say the same, and they're running in circles. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, I'm not impressed. I'm more impressed with Matt Walsh. And it's not like I'm this biggest fan, but I'm more impressed with his documentary and what he did, because he doesn't follow Trump in circles. He's like, this is what I care about. This is who I am. And I'm going to execute on my ideas. And he did, and he's had more success than almost anybody in the right wing because he's not running in circles around a tired old guy with an old narrative. I'm not saying you can't like him, but 2023 has to be the year of creating our own narrative. We can't run circles around the guy that wants to it's like it's the whole energy of it is just weird now, and it's losing even right wingers. It's not gaining left wingers. It's not doing anything tangible. It's not moving the Overton window. It's not stopping the omnibus bill. And the unfortunate thing is, what people don't realize about this garbage omnibus bill, which I think we need to really figure out how to stop in the future, these were passed during Donald Trump. He signed off on it in 2018. He threw a fit and complained, which was cool. He said, I'll never sign this omnibus bill again, which was cool. And then in 2019, he signed an even worse omnibus bill, and he didn't even put up a fight about it. So Trump is the same thing. He's not better. I mean, he's better than Biden, but as far as like, oh, if he gets back into office, he'll stop the omnibus bill. No, he won't. He didn't do it. He tried to in 2018. He said he'd never sign it again. And then he signed it again the next year and pushed out propaganda. Oh, it's going to fund the military and raise the smoking age. Yeah. Do you want to know what else it's doing with the $1.7 trillion? Same BS they're doing here. It's probably slightly worse now that Democrats have more power. But all I'm saying is not to blame Trump for everything, but this idea that he's going to stop it is one of the most toxic ideologies in right-wing things. It's not to give up hope, but it's like the hope comes from standing up to our party. The hope doesn't come from fake brainwashing ourselves into thinking it's going to be done for us. That's not hope. It's like being a string bean and telling yourself you're going to be the best fighter in the MMA. You could be the best fighter in UFC, but you have to train. You have to work for it. You have to get stronger. and then you could be the right. Like, I don't understand this ideology of people who are like, oh, anomaly, you're making me lose hope, or I just want to believe. Okay, then tell yourself, dress up in a tutu and tell yourself you're the fairy godmother from Wizard of Oz, and whatever, dude. Like, it's childish to me, or any like somewhat strong person. Like, we have to be honest about it. It's not to say there's not blessings. God is great. Family, friends, the earth, like, these are great times. I'm not saying to be depressed and moan around. Don't be negative. Be optimistic. I'm optimistic of the future, but my optimism comes from my strength and my ability to understand that I'm willing to stand up to the nonsense. Not my strength doesn't come from this fairy tale. I don't put on a tutu and say, "Oh, Donald Trump's going to say." That's not strength. That's pathetic. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's no different than Rob Reiner sitting on his couch eating a bunch of yogurt, telling himself that Trump's going to go to jail and it's going to make his life better or something. It's the same sort of like fantasy fairy tale thought process of like, oh, Donald Trump's so bad and Joe Biden's going to save our country. Like, it's like this. And what I find, I'm a very spiritual person. What I find is the reason I don't get in that many arguments with people is because people on the left attract the same version of themselves on the right, and then they fight with each other. Like, the same person on the left that has ego, that lies to themselves, that wants to play fantasy fairy tale games, that's team blue, will find that same person on the right wing. In my view, it's like a magnetic spiritual connection. They find the same emotional person, the same team player, team red, egotistical, not willing to call out, and then they fight. And then it's like the bankers and the elites and the politicians, they laugh because they're like, dude, these dummies just keep fighting each other. I'm not interested in fighting. Like, I'll say my piece. I want to win. I want to succeed, but I'm not going to sit on Twitter and find some like emotional, depressed wine mom who watches CNN and argue with her, because those type of people will fight the same type of people on the right with the same energy. It's like this like magnetic, spiritual attraction. Someone said Carrie Lake cucked. To be honest, I think she's an interesting person as far as like a media talent. I think she's a star, like media wise. I think she could like work at Fox or, be a vice president. But I don't run circles around Carrie Lake. I understand that something weird happened in Arizona. I understand that some people are looking into it. I understand that there's a court case, but I'm not interested in this like hoorah Trump world where it's like everything is like that those times have passed me. Like, that's her role, and I wish her the best. I don't know if she really caved or not, but I'm like trying to figure out what I can do. If I want to fix an election, I got to figure out a strategic, tangible way to do it. If not, I'm not going to play this game of like take my ball and go home, because there is truth to what's going on both sides. I think that on one hand, Democrats will obviously in Arizona, if the machines aren't working on election day, that's the biggest red flag in the world. And anybody who says that that's not crazy is crazy. But in general, it's like, I feel like Republicans, they just yell about the election. They don't do anything about it. They waste people's time for years. They inspire millions of people to not even vote. They don't accurately even get anything done. And then they go wham, wham, wham when they don't get their way and just run away. And then 2 years later, these same like Republicans come back and they're like, vote for me. But all the people that like them don't even believe in voting because they think it's rigged. So it's like, to me, this is not five-dimensional chess. Like, Trump and these people are idiots. Like, they have no vision. I'm not saying that you should just say that elections are 100% fair and not talk about it. But in California, for example, they made ballot harvesting legal. It's legal to harvest ballots. You can't vote for somebody else, but you can ballot harvest, which I believe is take people's votes and mail them in. Republicans have learned the rules, played by the rules legally, and Republicans have started to win elections in California. Ron DeSantis won his election in Florida. Ron DeSantis cleaned up the election rules, I believe. Georgia tried to, or, Kemp tried to, but probably didn't do it right. Where it's like, at the end of the day, I'm just saying, like, you got to either win at what you're doing or move. Like, I'm not going to sit 6 years running circles around a vaccine salesman and his little merry band of followers and run circles around him. He does nothing. And then his biggest supporters, I'm like, are you going to vote? And they're like, no, I don't believe in voting. How's he going to win an election if he's inspiring people not to believe in voting? To me, a real leader says, we're going to get it done. But you have to understand that there's a mixture of both things that are true. I think one thing is, look at the machines, look at the ballots. Like, do audits, etc. But another thing is too, in my view, and maybe some people don't feel this way, I look at it like a sports game where the ref is kind of cheating a little bit. And I deal with this sometimes when I play, on like 5-on-5 at a park or something. Someone's cheating, someone's calling fouls. I'm the type of person, I'm determined. I'm like, I don't care if you cheat, I'm still going to beat you. You know what I'm saying? I'm still going to embarrass you. So I think in general, it's like if they can do something to 1%, 2%, whatever, now you got to win by 5%, 10%. I'm not saying it's fair, but strategically, you got to win. You know what I'm saying? So how come Ron DeSantis won? Oh, did he cheat? Mike Lindell thinks he cheated. Oh, yeah, let's overturn Ron DeSantis. How did Governor Kemp win? How did hundreds of Republicans around the country win? I don't know. I guess maybe they focused on things that actually mattered, appealed to voters, and got so much support that it didn't even matter if there was a little bit of funny business because they overpowered it. Is that not possible, or is that possible? I don't, to me, it's just a multi-pronged approach where it's like, if I'm going to talk about voter fraud for 5 years, I'm going to do something about it. If I'm not going to do something about it, I'm not going to talk about it for 5 years because there's 1,000 things going on and our party's selling us out too. So in my opinion, it's not even the biggest issue, but it is an issue, but it's number one because Trump wants everything about him and nothing else matters, not the Operation Warp Speed or the CARES Act. Like, he's a clown leader, and it's like he doesn't even get results. And then his biggest supporters don't even want to vote. And then he says he's running for office again. How are you going to run for office if nobody wants to vote for you because you've inspired millions of people to think that it doesn't matter? To me, he's completely aimless. And Carrie Lake is just, I think, just like a Trump coattail rider. But I'm not saying that it was fair. Or like, I don't know if she caped. I don't really know. The point that I'm getting to, as somebody that does think she's a media star, is like, I'm done. I'm 33 years old. I'm not creative. I'm a very creative person. I'm very inspired. I don't need an 80-year-old vaccine salesman to tell me what to think or what to do. I have my own brain, and so do you. So we can vote for these people. We can support people that we like, but we don't have to run circles around these people. That's my message. I hope it inspires somebody to start a business, something in your personal life, anything. Like, I'm not running circles around these people. I wish them the best with their endeavors, but I'm done trusting or caring about what they're doing because it doesn't resonate to me personally. It just doesn't resonate. Like, when you're out running around the country selling vaccines, but then you want me to like listen to you say that voter fraud's the number one issue, yet you're not doing anything about it. Like, yet you're leaving the people that supported you rotting in prison without a jail sentence. Like, I don't feel inspired by the message anymore. It doesn't mean I don't hope you do well. I'm just not going to be a part of it because I have better things to do that I think are going to be more helpful to myself, my country, and what I want to do. So, we'll see what happens. But in general, those are my best, my things for the New Year and Christmas. First of all, have a good Christmas. Once again, if you're Jewish or Muslim, enjoy whatever you're doing on that day. God bless. And God bless the Christians and even the atheists. I hope you have a good Christmas too. Even if you're atheist, I know, stop acting like weather outside is, and then you love a Christmas song. Stop lying to yourself. But in general, God bless everybody. Enjoy the rest of the year. And in 2023, these are just my few, things that hopefully can inspire people. In your personal life, I think it's all about self-awareness and self-accountability, whether it's Trump, Biden, Chip Roy, DeSantis. Like, these people are going to have some sort of an impact, but it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and politics is an ugly game. So don't ever let them think that they can control your life, because you could always double up your life, start a business, make a personal move. That will impact your life more than anything. And when it comes to free time, I think cell phones are addicting. So your battle with your cell phone and how productive you are will have a bigger impact than even what Biden and Republicans are doing, although they're doing some scummy stuff. Focus on that. I think that's always important outside of politics. Self-awareness, self-accountability, challenging yourself, or just being honest and being like, I can, these people aren't going to stop me. These people aren't going to make me feel bad. Like, enjoy yourself and find a way to fill the void that you don't see and add some value. In politics, I really do believe that people need to be challenged, and I've been doing it for a while. No disrespect. I think, Daily Wire does a lot of good work. TPUSA does a lot of work. Prager has done some good work with the orange stuff and, some of the right wing phrases and that. And I think they've done a lot of good stuff, but this whole like, let's all just get along and cheer for like Republican losers and cry and call everything hate speech when somebody challenges us, like that whole thing's got to stop. So with all due love and respect for things that you are doing, I see what we're not doing, and I'm going to challenge that even harder this year because like this isn't working. So there needs to be a little bit of that, challenging politicians, etc. I think that that's important on a political side. And on a country side, I mean, I really do hope that we could get a little bit more together. I don't, and I'm going to end on this note. I think that reality was changed when Donald Trump won, and it just created this whole new world. Like left wingers went insane. A lot of right wingers supported him, and the country's never been the same. I don't think it's Trump's fault. It's just for whatever reason, because of the media and people getting brainwashed. Like people lost their minds over Donald Trump. Literally, I think like I don't know what happened. Like the left wing is insane. They used to be like, we need to get the money out of politics. Now they're the biggest shills. We need to fight Monsanto. Now they're the biggest. I don't know what happened to the left wing, but they need some help. With that being said, reality changed when Donald Trump got into office. It's never been the same. Reality changed when COVID came. It hasn't been the same. So that's what I'm looking into is we need to shift reality, and we can't just keep playing in these left-wing narratives, defending ourselves. No, we need to create a whole new reality because eventually, and this is my thing with Donald Trump. If he was like 10 out of 10 crushing everything, I'd be like, yeah, give him another shot. But he's not. And his reality is an old stale one that people are over, including half of our party. It's time to move on. We need to create a new reality that's even snaps out people that have lost it. I'm not saying we need to, but like, I don't think they're going to be that way forever. Maybe they will, but everybody could be snapped out of it at a certain point. It's just, if we're following these same tired narratives of like 7 years ago and the same tired narrative of 2 years ago, people aren't going to snap out of it. So I still believe that millions of people can be saved, and we can create a movement that is, I don't know if I could say bipartisan, but that's something that's so big that it's able to actually get something done. Because right now it's like this little battle that's not doing anything. So, if we create our own narrative, if we get creative and honest and snap out of these like media in right wing and left wing narratives, hopefully we could create something that's so appealing and attractive that it snaps millions of people out of it on both sides and becomes like a powerful force in this country. But it's not going to be doing that, chasing the tail of like, tired politician like ramble. It's not working for either side. So appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas. God bless. And I'll be back soon. Thanks for hanging out. And